Bruce Willis spent 4 decades making firearms look cooler than they had any right to be. His characters turned ordinary pistols into cultural icons, sparked real-world sales booms, and gave us some of the most memorable weapon scenes in cinema history. From John McClane's beat-up Beretta to gangster twin 1911s that never seemed to run empty, these weren't just props. They were extensions of the characters themselves. Starting at number 10, we need to talk about the single-action Army from Sunset in 1988. Willis played Tom Mix, the Hollywood cowboy, and carried a nickel-plated revolver with ivory grips. The classic black powder .45 Colt load gave it that authentic Old West feel. What makes this special is the timing. This came out the same year as Die Hard, which means 1988 was the year Willis went from television actor to action icon twice over. The contrast between a period cowboy piece and modern tactical pistol showed his range right from the start. Number 9 takes us to Pulp Fiction in 1994. Butch Coolidge grabs a suppressed MAC-10 from Marcellus Wallace in that infamous pawn shop basement scene. The Ingram fires from an open bolt, cyclic rate around 1,145 rounds per minute. Willis empties the entire 30-round magazine into Maynard in what remains one of the most satisfying moments of payback ever filmed. The MAC-10 wasn't elegant or refined. It was a bullet hose that got the job done, and that scene cemented its place in movie history. The suppressor actually made it controllable enough for the tight basement set, something that wouldn't have worked with an unsuppressed version creating massive noise and muzzle flash. At number 8, we have the futuristic replay guns from The Fifth Element in 1997. Corbin Dallas carried modified AK-47s with massive prop attachments designed to look like the ZF-1. The famous replay function that could shoot around corners became the most requested fictional feature at gun shops for years afterward. The base gun was actually a Polish WZ-83 Pallid D grenade launcher merged with AK components. The production team built these weapons to look alien and advanced while still maintaining that familiar assault rifle silhouette. Gun enthusiasts still debate what a real replay function would require in terms of guidance systems and ammunition technology. Number 7 brings us to the Kimber Custom TLE-2 from Hostage in 2005. This wasn't just any 1911. The slide had LAPD SWAT Custom engraved on it because that's what the real Los Angeles Police Department SWAT teams actually carried at the time. Mi-Pro-Lite night sights, extended magazine release, and authentic wear patterns made it look like a working gun that had seen real use. Willis also carried a backup Glock 26 with a rubber band wrapped around the grip for extra traction. That small detail showed someone on the production actually understood how officers modify their weapons in the field. The Kimber represented modern tactical 1911s at their peak before polymer frames started taking over department inventories. Coming in at number 6 is the Sig Sauer P220R from Live Free or Die Hard in 2007. John McClane finally retired his Beretta after 19 years and switched to .45 ACP. The P220R came with a railed frame for accessories, DASA trigger, and that classic SIG reliability. This gun marked the end of an era. For nearly 2 decades, audiences associated McClane with that Beretta 92. Switching to the SIG showed the character evolving with the times, moving into modern tactical pistol territory. The P220R had an 8+1 capacity, significantly less than the Beretta's 15 rounds, but the .45 ACP offered more stopping power. This transition reflected real-world trends as many agencies moved toward .45 caliber handguns in the 2000s. Number 5 takes us to the Heckler & Koch Mark 23 from Tears of the Sun in 2003. This pistol is an absolute unit. It weighs 39 ounces unloaded, measures over 9 inches with the suppressor attached, and fires 12+1 rounds of .45 ACP through a 5.87-inch threaded barrel. The Mark 23 was specifically designed for SEAL teams, built to handle the most extreme conditions imaginable. Willis carried it suppressed for night operations. and somehow made this massive handgun look normal-sized in his hands. The suppressor brought the sound down to hearing-safe levels, around 130 decibels, which is still loud but won't cause permanent damage like unsuppressed fire. The Mark 23 remains the largest service pistol ever officially issued by the U.S. military. Its appearance in Tears of the Sun introduced most viewers to what special operations handguns actually looked like, far removed from the compact pistols civilians typically carry. At number 4, get the Magnum Research BFR from Looper in 2012. BFR stands for Biggest Finest Revolver, and they weren't exaggerating. Old Joe carried the 4570 government version with a 7.5-inch barrel. This cartridge was originally designed for the Springfield trapdoor rifle in 1873 and produces significantly more energy than typical revolver rounds. The recoil is legendary even with blank ammunition. The 4570 generates about 2,500 foot-pounds of energy compared to 400 foot-pounds from a 9mm. Firing one requires serious hand strength and technique. The BFR can also chamber 454 Casull, 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum, and 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum, making it one of the most powerful production revolvers ever made. Willis handling this hand cannon reinforced his action hero credentials in an era when most films had moved to tactical polymer pistols. Before we go further down the line, please give us a hype. We're a new channel, and it really helps us. Thank you. Number 3 brings us to those dual Colt M 1911 A1s from Last Man Standing in 1996. These World War II era pistols came with pearl diamond checker grips and were carried in cross-draw shoulder holsters. The left-hand gun had an extended slide stop so Willis could manipulate it with his trigger finger. Both guns sat on the bathtub edge during the famous reload scene while his character soaked between shootouts. The film completely ignored magazine capacity, with Willis firing 30 to 40 rounds per gun without reloading. The 1911A one holds 7+1 rounds of 45A CP, meaning he should have reloaded at least 4 times per gun. Nobody cared because it looked incredible. The pearl grips, the cross draw, the synchronized movements of dual wielding, all of it combined into what many consider the coolest 1911 display in cinema history. This Prohibition-era remake turned pistol work into choreography. Number 2 is the Beretta 92 FS from the Die Hard series, appearing across 5 films from 1988 to 2013. This is the gun most people associate with Willis. The 9x19mm pistol holds 15 rounds in double-action/single action configuration. The screen-used gun was modified with extended slide release and magazine release because Willis is left-handed. The same prop appeared in Lethal Weapon the year before, making it one of the most famous movie guns ever built. During the under-the-table execution of Marco in the first Die Hard, the unsuppressed blank fire in the enclosed space caused permanent partial hearing loss for Willis. That's not special effects or acting. He actually damaged his hearing filming that scene. The Beretta 92 saw a massive spike in civilian sales after Die Hard premiered, and Beretta's factory in Maryland couldn't keep up with demand. The Italian company had to increase production significantly just to meet American orders. McClane used this pistol in every major firefight across the franchise. He taped it to his back, used it to shoot glass, fired it one-handed while injured, and turned it into an extension of his sarcastic, indestructible personality. The Beretta 92 FS will forever be the die-hard gun. At number 1, we have the Polish ZSU 33 14.5mm heavy machine gun from the Jackal in 1997. This remote-controlled, servo-driven monster was mounted in a minivan and chambered in 14.5 by 114mm. The production team mocked up a Browning M2HB to look like a Soviet KPV for the film. The air-cooled beast used depleted uranium rounds according to the script and obliterated targets with terrifying efficiency. That watermelon demonstration scene became legendary. The projectile hit with so much force that the watermelon didn't just explode, it vaporized. The gun operated via remote control with servo motors handling elevation and traverse. In reality, the 14.5 by 114 mm round was developed by the Soviet Union for anti-materiel work. It can penetrate light armor at over 1,000 meters and generates approximately 23,700 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. For comparison, a 50 BMG produces about 13,000 foot-pounds. The van-mounted setup was completely mobile and could be deployed in seconds. Real operators who saw the film admitted the weapon system's realism was genuinely concerning. The mount, the remote firing system, the devastating power, all of it was theoretically buildable with 1990s technology. This wasn't some science fiction laser or plasma gun. It was a heavy machine gun that could actually be constructed, and that made it terrifying. The Jackal's cannon represents the most insane movie gun Willis ever used and possibly one of the most impressive weapon systems in action film history. Willis also carried dozens of other firearms throughout his career. The Smith & Wesson Model 19 snub-nose from The Last Boy Scout, the suppressed CZ-75s from Lucky No. 11, the Glock 17 from Death Wish, and countless assault rifles, shotguns, and submachine guns. He wielded an M4A1 in Tears of the Sun, a Mossberg 590 in Armageddon, an HK-4160 in The Expendables 2, and an FNSCARH in A Good Day to Die Hard. His comfort with firearms on screen was unmatched. The left-handed modifications, the realistic handling, the way he maintained trigger discipline and muzzle awareness all contributed to his authenticity. Directors knew they could hand Willis any weapon and he would make it look natural. The cultural impact of his firearms extended beyond ticket sales. The Beretta 92 FS became standard issue for the U.S. military in 1985 as the M9, but Die Hard cemented its place in American gun culture. Sales of 1911 pistols surged after Last Man Standing. The HK Mark 23 gained mainstream recognition from Tears of the Sun, leading to increased interest in suppressed pistols among civilian shooters. Even the more exotic weapons like the BFR found new audiences after his films premiered. Gun manufacturers understood the value of movie placement and specifically courted action films for product exposure. Willis became one of the most reliable stars for generating that exposure because his films always centered around the weapons themselves. The technical modifications for his left-handedness added another layer of authenticity. Most firearms are designed for right-handed shooters, with controls placed for right thumb operation. Extended slide releases and magazine releases allowed Willis to manipulate the guns without shifting his grip or using his offhand. These weren't just cosmetic changes, they were functional modifications that real left-handed shooters use. The fact that productions took the time to properly modify the weapons showed a level of detail that elevated the entire presentation. His hearing damage from Die Hard became a cautionary tale in the film industry. Modern productions use better blank ammunition, improved sound dampening, and more careful planning for indoor shooting scenes. Willis has spoken about his tinnitus and hearing loss in interviews, attributing it directly to that table scene. The injury was permanent and irreversible. It served as a wake-up call for production safety departments across Hollywood. Today, actors wear custom-molded ear protection even when using blanks, and sound designers add the report in post-production rather than relying on full-power blanks in enclosed spaces. The progression of his weapons across 4 decades tells the story of action cinema itself. He started with the Beretta in the late 1980s when practical effects and squibs dominated. The 1990s brought dual wielding and over-the-top gunplay. The 2000s introduced tactical equipment and military authenticity. The 2010s saw a return to classic weapons like the BFR and modern service pistols like the Glock. Each era had its own aesthetic and approach to firearms, and Willis adapted to all of them while maintaining his signature style. Don't forget to leave us a like and a subscribe if you'd like to see more of our videos.